Okay, hi everybody, it's Sam. Ignore the noise outside, it's just the train and cars. I hope the roosters ain't gonna start making the noise again. The only reason I'm talking so low is, my niece is sleeping and I don't want to wake her up. And if you noticed, I do have headphones on. I'm hoping I ain't gonna mess this up. But I'm gonna read you, I'm sorry it's taking me so long. I'm going to read you a little bit of The Night Room by E.M. Goldman. And I'm sorry, like I said, I am really sorry about not reading this to you. I don't know how much I'm going to be able to read, but I'll read a little bit at least. Okay. Don't pull these things out. Okay, Thursday, December 7th, the first, chapter 1, I guess. Miss Rudley counted their cold red noses in the university parking lot. All present, how is everybody feeling tonight? The sun had been down for almost an hour and the temperature had fallen with it. Ira didn't know what the others had on under their coats, but the comfortable clothes he wore weren't exactly intended for winter conditions. Sandra shivered. It's cold. I'll warm you up, Sandy, Mac offered. Ira had managed to inch over to stand next to Sandra. Startled when Mac spoke, the blonde girl bumped into him. He felt like her protector as he stood between her and Mac. It's nice out here, Ira said, toasty. You won't keep outside unless you I won't keep you outside unless you insist. Miss Rudley frowned. Tess, you do understand that no photographs may be taken inside. You'll have to leave your camera in the car. Grumbling, Tess went back to lock her camera in the trunk. That's fine, the teacher said when she returned. All right, boys and girls, we are about to go inside. No one applauded, possibly because all hands were shoved deeply into coat pockets or tucked under their arms. Again, I urge you all to be on your best behavior. While the procedure itself only takes 20 minutes, delays may occur for a number of reasons. One reason is that a level of relaxation must be achieved by each participant. That state could be chemically induced. However, the school district isn't about to agree to have its students stuperized. Tess muttered something. What did you say, Miss Ridley asked. Tess, was that you? The red-haired girl raised her voice. I still haven't decided whether I want to go through with this. Chicken, Mac said. Ira clucked, then stopped right away. Mac picked up where he left off. He stopped too as Mrs. Rudley scowled. If you two roosters want to stay here in the parking lot, you're welcome to do so, she said. The rest of us are going inside where it's warm. I want to repeat right now that if anyone at any time wants to back out, he or she is urged to do so. This is not a contest of wills, all right? She waited, all right? They were silent as they passed through the double doors that led into the brightly lit corridors, smelling of recycled air. Directly inside, notices were tacked on a bulletin board about books for sale, students willing to tutor other students, an apartment to be shared. Sandra loosened her trench coat. She was wearing a turquoise sweatsuit with pink and ivory trim, and a turquoise hairband. Miss Rudley's voice had become quieter, except for a few evening classes. We're pretty much the only ones here. Nevertheless, you are asked to keep your voices down, particularly after the procedure starts. Joyce shivered. That word, she said when the others turned to look at her procedure. I don't like it. There were dental procedures and surgical procedures. The word wasn't one of Ira's favorites either. Miss Rudley turned when she reached a sign reading Lab 1, and the others followed like baby ducks. She led them into a large open room with straight-back chairs along one wall. The room also had 2 wooden desks, one stacked with old magazines, a blackboard, and a huge cardboard box filled with toys next to a pile of exercise mats. In the corner stood a television and an ancient VCR on a shoulder-high stand. Welcome to the Argus Project. A slender young woman in a lab coat came through a narrow hallway marked "Do Not Enter." "I'm Karen Narita. You may call me Karen." Her long black hair was held up by a clip at the nape of her neck. She spotted Barbara, and her smile became warmer and less formal. I see that you and your friends made it here all right." Graham was already looking around like he didn't understand. "In case you're wondering about the furnishings, we share this area with prenatal classes and a well baby clinic. And whoever else needs the premises. Argus is down the hall. You'll be entering the night room, a soundproof area the size of an ordinary school classroom. Not surprising, since it used to be one. Argus will be monitored from an adjoining room by Dr. Hallstrom. I'll be there as well." "Will we get to meet Dr. Hallstrom?" Tess asked. "Probably not," Karen answered. "She seldom speaks with student participants." "So you're like our hostess?" Mac asked her. "Will there be any food while we're waiting?" He looked around. Miss Rudley was rolling her eyes. Barbara seemed to be trying not to laugh. Iris sneaked a look at Sandra. Her expression showed interest in what was happening, but her mind seemed elsewhere. "I'm Dr. Hallstrom's assistant," Karen stressed. "Hostess isn't included in my job description. Regarding food, we ask that you not eat until you're finished. You'll find a water fountain in the hall next to the washrooms, but you should restrict yourself to sips. Do not go in with a full bladder." "She means that you might wet your diapers," Miss Ridley explained. "We went over that part earlier." "I'll take your signed forms now," Karen said. "I also need to ask whether anyone has started a new medication in the last few days, or whether you are using drugs, legal or otherwise." Miss Ridley had already collected the forms. She handed them over. "All right," Karen said. "In a minute I'll take you down the hall and show you to the night room. Dr. Hallstrom will be returning to the control area shortly. You won't be able to see her. However, she will hear and see you." She began to turn away. "You can hang your coats now. I'll be right back." Miss Ridley waited until Karen was gone before she spoke. "I know you're all nervous, but cute comments must stop once you go down that hallway. The doctor has devoted her life to this project. She and it deserve your respect." Barbara leaned closer to Ira. "Argus," she intoned softly, "is Dr. Hallstrom's baby?" "I'm somebody's baby, too." At first he didn't realize that he'd spoke out loud. Then he saw the others were looking at him. No one laughed. "Goodness," Miss Rudley said a few minutes later. "I feel so formal. The instructor wore jeans and a brown turtleneck sweater. The rest of you look like you're at a pajama party." Everyone else had on sweats of some kind. Barbara's navy sweats identified her as part of the university math department. Graham wore tattered loose jeans and a torn blue sweatshirt that looked as though he'd worn it while changing oil. Tess wore gray sweatpants and a baggy sweatshirt that were almost identical to Iris, right down to the grass stains on the knees. Banting High was emblazoned across their respective chests. She wore a khaki shirt over hers, so that all Ira saw was anti-high. Mac gawked at joy. He threw his arms over his eyes. "Help me, I'm blind." Just give me 1 minute. Okay. Joy's sweats were bright orange. "I borrowed these from my mom," she said miserably. "She goes walking in the morning with some other women, and they like to be visible." Joy was definitely visible. She could probably be seen from space, like the Great Wall of China. "If you wore those at Halloween," Max started, "you could end up with a face carved on your..." Sandra was leafing through a woman's magazine. She glanced up, frowning. "Hey, look," Iris said loudly. "I see a bunch of tapes with the VCR." "Educational, I'm afraid," Karen had returned. "You're welcome to watch them, and no, we're not on cable. Now please follow me, and I'll show you the night room." Tess went first. Ira and Mac brought up the rear. "You may wonder why this is called the night room," Karen said as they stood looking slowly around the bare classroom. It's black, Graham said. Everything's black. Well, duh. That was Mac. Walls, curtains, even the windows were painted black, so no light could peep in. The room had the kind of half-light that Ira associated with sitting in a theater, waiting for the main feature to start. All illumination came from recessed ceiling fixtures. A meshwork design over the black overhead tiles looked almost decorative, although he knew better. The floor was shiny black linoleum, the blackboards black instead of the usual dark green. Near the walls were a few black metal cabinets. A high school in the dead center of the room was a dentist chair. Yikes! Nobody said it, but all at once they seemed to have their mouths formed and closed. Miss Rutherly pressed her lips together. Okay, maybe not a dentist chair, although he could see that it went back like a dentist chair. It looked like it could also go up and down. He wasn't about to guess at the purpose of the attached electronics. In movies, he'd seen hostages wired to bombs that looked more friendly. He scanned the rest of the room in an effort to keep his teeth from chattering. Then he wished he hadn't. Discreetly tucked away in a corner was a wheeled cart with equipment that looked like it should belong to an official state torturer. The long electrical cord attached it to the wall was as thick as a garden hose. Oh, geez. Karen intercepted his gaze. That's emergency equipment. We've never needed it, but it's here just in case. In case of what? No one dared ask. The university hospital is just down the road. I'm telling you that to reassure you. Did he feel reassured? Ira wasn't sure. I'll show you our twinkle lights. She walked into the wall to a light switch that was almost visible. As the recessed ceiling fixture dimmed, the tiny lights came on at irregular intervals, shining with varying intensity. Like stars, Graham breathed. Many people consider this like the show at the planetarium. She put the lights up again. Now for the scary part. She walked to the chair. Some people thrash around or turn over in their sleep. Since you will be in a state very much like sleep, we have to use these. Because everything was black, Ira didn't realize that the chair had attachments. She unclasped the 3-point harness going across the center. This used to be a seat belt from a Lamborghini. That's a little humor to set you at ease. A seat belt, Mac said. That sounds okay. So we won't fall on the floor, right? We don't want you to hurt yourselves. People react differently to their experiences under Argus. There are padded straps for your wrist. Before I totally freak you out, let me emphasize that you can release yourselves at any time, that you are wide awake. You are not truly confined. Graham's words could barely be heard. This is okay, right? Nobody likes this part, Barbara reassured him. Hundreds of college students have been through Argus. Sandra spoke calmly. Patrick took part last spring. It doesn't hurt, Karen said, but you might scratch yourself. You could even break your own nose. She looked at them. Most of us have no experience with confinement beyond being sent to our rooms as children. If you're truly bothered by this aspect, you may not be a candidate for Argus. Sounds kind of kinky, Max said, but Ira thought he sounded nervous. Will you stay with me, Karen? I'm not sure that I could trust myself if we were left alone, the young woman answered pleasantly. Mac grinned. No, I'm afraid not. Any other questions? What about driving home afterward? Sandra asked. Good question, Miss Rutherly said. Karen, students leaving Argus often feel slight confusion. If you're planning to drive, we advise you to return to the waiting area for half an hour. If you feel any doubts, don't drive. I'll be here until the last, Miss Rutherly said. If anyone needs a ride, I'm available as taxi service. I don't believe your cars will be impounded if left here overnight. They won't. Anything else? Karen waited. Then we'll go back. Ira didn't think he was the only one who felt relieved to leave the night room. The students didn't exactly sprint down the hall, but they jammed up at the door. Karen came into the waiting room with them. It is vital for you to understand that August only shows possibilities. You are not seeing your future. The future has not yet happened. Everyone here still has full control over his or her destiny. She seemed to remember something. Apple banana. They all looked at one another. Sorry, Miss Rudley said. Apple banana. Does anyone know what I am referring to? Fruit. Sandra guessed. It's in a play, Joy said. That's what you say when you want to look like you're talking, for crowd scenes. I know, Barbara said. Some people have tried to use their turns to find out information about the future, like about the stock market or horse racing or who will win the World Series in 11 years. If you ask specific questions, you'll get answers, all right, but all you'll hear is the name of a fruit or vegetable. Another thing, Karen said, this is a reunion party. There are only 7 of you. You will see people who look familiar, but you may not be able to put a name on them. Typical for reunions, Miss Rudley said. I can personally vouch for that. We've already interviewed students from other classes who may be there in a minimal way. Some of you may have spouses in the future. Pay attention to the way you treat your partners and the way they treat you. Spouses, Graham said. Argus attempts to identify trends in relationship. So you may be married. She looked at her watch. Dr. Holstrom should be ready. So we might as well begin. Joy Abercrombie. Here, Joy raised her hand slowly. Are we in, like, alphabetical order? Mac asked. Not very original, Karen admitted, but yes. So I'm like second, she nodded. I'm not in any hurry, Joy said nervously. My homework is caught up and everything. Somebody else can go first. You don't have to go at all, Tess told her. I'm a little nervous, the plump girl admitted. We're more used to you being a bundle of joy, Max said. A bundle of joy, get it? Iris supposed he wouldn't mind getting the whole thing over with, except that he would lose his excuse to hang around with Sandra, who was last. She had taken a chair and was leafing through her magazine. It's interesting, huh? He said. He wished that she talked more. Maybe he and Tess tended to snipe at each other, but they never seemed to run out of words. Karen cleared her throat. Argus is programmed to deal with groups. Students have their turns in a specific order, always alphabetical. While anyone may withdraw at any time, it is not possible for the order to be changed. Joy sat there motionless and pale. You were really good in school play, Barbara told her. Argus doesn't bother me, but I don't think I'd have the nerve to go out on the stage in front of all those people. Joy put back her shoulders as she stood. I'm okay, I'm fine. They watched her as she headed down the hall. The image that Ira held in his mind was that of a caged canary being taken down into a mine. If the songbird didn't die from poison gas, the miners knew they would be safe. Better her than me, Max said. Okay, I'm going to stop right there, because I'm already at 18 minutes. Oh man, I can't believe it went off. I was going to watch the Page Master. I just bought it. Oh shoot, I should have probably showed you. Yeah, I had to rebuy it. My copy, the disc is missing. So I rebought it. Trying to think if I have anything to tell you before signing off. Normally I don't do this on these videos, but I don't know if I told you, I ordered a bunch of movies. So far only that one came in the Page Master, and not a bunch, but you know what I mean. I don't really know the exact amount. Three or four, and then a book. Might have ordered more, but nothing pops in my head. The book that I ordered is, I think I've shown it on here. It's the Dracula, the film adaptation thing. I'm trying to remember what they're called. Tie-in? Yeah. The Bram Stoker Dracula movie, the one with Winona Ryder, tie-in. I got that one, but it's paperback. I was wanting a hardback, but it cost too much. Um, I don't think I have anything else to tell you. Okay, so bye everybody.